Bad news for all the men out there who are losing their hair. A new study out of Johns Hopkins University confirms that balding men are typically viewed as less attractive. But after some of those same men got hair transplants, those same observers changed their minds and saw the men as younger and better looking. We're joined now by Dr. David Cangello, who is a plastic surgeon here in New York City, and will help us understand this study and the science of hair transplanting today. Surprised by these results, or I guess as a plastic surgeon you would expect positive results like this?
You know, I would. We've seen studies in the past that have shown that men can be very insecure from losing their hair. So what this study does is essentially kind of validates their concerns and says that perhaps society does view them differently, and therefore this could in fact lead to more hair transplant procedures being done.
So do you think ultimately more men will be up for doing hair transplants? I think women are more into cosmetic surgery and it's more acceptable, but men are a little more apprehensive sometimes.
They are, but I think when it boils down to what happens with men, I think, is there's a loss of self-esteem, sometimes a loss of their identity. And when that happens and they feel they're disadvantaged in social situations or in the workplace, that sort of prompts them to seek these procedures. So
it may be that the viewers of these men are not reacting to the lack of hair, they're reacting to the way the men feel and behave and carry themselves as bald men.
Well, I think that's the case. I think that, you know, when you lose your hair, that sort of plays into how you feel about yourself, and then if you do act differently, people can sort of pick up on that, so it potentially does affect that.
Now, I know you both have a full head of hair, but I'd just like to say bald men can be very sexy too. I think we have some images that were picked out by certain female producers in our newsroom showing the men with a bald head. Look, how could you disagree?
Yeah, there you go. But, you know, again, it's about how they carry themselves. Bright smiles, you know, bright eyes. These are people who are accomplished in other realms, not only follically. So the other question is hair transplant science to the point where you don't find yourself regretting having done so? Because you could be a bald man feeling bad about being bald, but if you don't get a good hair transplant job, you might feel even worse about how you look afterwards.
This is very true. So really the artistry in the hair transplant comes from where the hair is positioned, particularly at the hairline. If you look at a man and you see that he sort of has plugs there because the hairline isn't done well, then it makes it more obvious, and then there's that stigma attached to having had a hair transplant. But if it's done properly by somebody who's experienced and who does it well, the chances of noticing are less.
Is there anything that men can do to prevent them from losing hair?
It's a good question, and there are a few things that are helpful. You know, we know, I'm sure you guys have probably heard of minoxidil, which is in shampoos, and that has been shown to slow the rate of hair loss a little bit. There's also a medication called Finasteride that has to be prescribed by a doctor, and that actually is better at slowing hair loss. But aside from those medical treatments, there's not much else you can do.
You have such a good head of hair.
He's got a good head of hair.
Yes, you do. You both do. But does your mother's brother, somebody said you look at your mother's brother, if he has a full head of hair, that means you're going to get to keep your hair.
I always heard it was your mother's father. And in my case, my grandfather had a full head of hair. But I am very heartened to learn that should the hair fall out, there appears to be a solution here that is fail-safe.
Well, fail-safe maybe not, but there does appear to be a solution. And you know, hair transplantation has been around for a long time. The methods have gotten better. And again, I think if you go to the right person who does it a lot, I don't personally do the procedure, but you know, you can potentially have a good result from it.
Still expensive, however. I think the next step is to lobby Congress. I want Obamacare to cover hair transplants. Let's get that on the list,
I
okay?
would like to see them cover a lot of cosmetic procedures.
Yes, as a plastic surgeon, right?
Dr. David Cangello, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.